How do you structure strength training for runners? What are the main considerations? And how do you integrate it into your run training plan? In this video, I'll cover the answers to those questions as well as the relevant sports science. This is so that you can tweak the plan to your own needs, be it a marathon, triathlon, Spartan race, your first 5km run, your sprint event, body transformation, military fitness test, etc. If at any point you wish to find out more on the sports science literature I cover in the video, you can check out the research summaries at allwin.co. You can also use the platform to track your strength training and running if you like. Lastly, if you like in-person guidance on strength training for runners, please also feel free to reach out to us. For those seeing me for the first time, this is Jing Zhi, founder of ALLSET, a physio and personal training company. Let's get into it. The first planning consideration is your goal for the event you're training for or your running goal for the season in general. This is because your strength training should be aligned to that goal. Just to be clear, although our video suggests that strength training is for runners, it doesn't always lead to better running, as shown in multiple researches done as recent as 2018. However, when strength training is done in specific ways, it can indeed help you improve your running. Some benefits backed by research include running economy, power output, and time to exhaustion at VO2 max. That said, you can't optimize for all the benefits of strength training at the same time, and therefore, it's important to guide your strength work with a goal, be it running injury-free, getting more speed, improving running economy, or other targets pegged to events and performance. For example, time-specific goals or distance-specific goals. Another reason why it's useful to have a running goal is that your strength training may help you feel stronger, but you won't know in a trackable manner whether it's ultimately translating to running or not, unless you have an overall goal in mind. Additionally, having a running goal helps you make decisions when you're doing strength training, because you have a specific objective. For example, to run a faster 1.5k, you know how hard to go in the gym when you're tired. Particularly, in this scenario, you can decide whether your gym session will get you closer to your running goal or is your next workout more pivotal, because it's sometimes better to forgo one of the sessions and take time to recover. Depending on your context, the optimal decision will be different, and I'll share more about how to adjust your plan later in the video. But first and foremost, it starts with having a specific running goal. Once you're clear about that, the next planning consideration is to select a specific strength training objective. To simplify things, I've grouped strength training goals into 3 categories. The first one is strength work, which is a broad term for increasing overall strength, core strength, and having strength in the range of motion required for running. The second category is unilateral work, which includes abilities in your single leg and single arm exercises. And the last category is plyometric work, which basically is a technical term that refers to jump training. The combination of 2 of these categories, namely strength and plyometric, will most effectively improve your running, as shown in studies in 2016 and 2019. And the reason for the third category, unilateral work, is because not everyone is ready for plyometric training. To be exact, a paper in 2015 states that the most significant contraindication to plyometrics is when the athlete does not have the foundation strength or the training base upon which a plyometric program can be built. The recommendation if you are new to strength training, to quote the words of another review, is that less conditioned athletes should focus on developing strength before emphasizing power type training, or those more experienced athletes may begin to emphasize power type training while maintaining or improving their strength. Lastly, a meta-analysis also states that unilateral resistance training exercises should be chosen for improving unilateral jumping performance, and bilateral resistance training exercises should be chosen for improving bilateral strength performance. As running is a sport whereby you land and take off one leg at a time, single leg plyometric should hence be included in your strength training, and consequently, unilateral strength work as well. To sum things up, it's recommended that you start with some strength work if you are new to strength training, and then follow it up with unilateral work and plyometric work. Once you're comfortable with all 3 categories of exercises, you can then mix and match them in different amounts to help you reach your particular training goal. For example, if you need better bone health, you might focus more on strength work, and if you need to be more explosive, you can focus more on plyometric work. That's the thinking behind an effective strength training program for runners, and hopefully it gives you a better overview of strength training. The trickier part now is how do you optimally select exercises for each of these categories, be it strength work, unilateral work, or plyometric work. The answer to that leads us to a bigger topic that also covers exercise progression, movement assessments, and even injury rehabilitation. Fortunately, there's already plenty of exercise recommendations on the internet, and with what I just shared, you can start by classifying all the exercises into strength, unilateral, or plyometric work, and then work on the exercise progressions that are closer to your abilities. I'll be giving my take on the topic of exercise selection another time, so if you're interested, simply subscribe to stay updated. For now, I'll do a quick fire presentation on strength training basic concepts like the number of repetitions, rest time, and training to failure before I talk about integrating everything into a run training plan. If you're already familiar with the basic concepts, feel free to skip this part. There are chapters and timestamps to help you with that for those watching on YouTube. Otherwise, I'll start off with volume, because apart from exercise selection, it's the biggest factor that determines the effectiveness of strength training. To be exact, multiple research in 2016 and 2018 showed that there's no difference in strength gains when volume is the same, even when frequency is different. This is in contrast to running, where 5 short runs and a long run are not the same, even if they are equal in distance. But as mentioned in multiple research, more volume is possible through higher frequency, and hence, multiple strength sessions can lead to greater strength gains. As for the number of repetitions of each exercise, also known as reps, a recent review has stated that in general, carrying heavier loads between the 1 to 5 rep range will result in greater strength gains as compared to lighter loads at a higher rep range. For plyometric exercises, however, the rep range varies according to the intensity of exercise. For example, you're recommended to do lesser reps per set for higher intensity exercises and more reps for low intensity exercises. Next, we come to the number of sets, and for strength gains, it's recommended that you do more than 5 sets per week per exercise, as stated in the meta-analysis in 2017. The last rep of each set should feel tough, although there's no need to work to complete failure to see improvements in strength, and this is backed up by multiple research in 2020 and 2022. Nevertheless, one of the papers also states that training to failure does not seem to have detrimental effects either, so feel free to give it your all if it makes you feel better. As for rest time between sets when training for strength, studies have shown a rest between 2 to 5 minutes to be optimal. In practice, how much time you should rest is usually based on how much time you need to recover without sacrificing the performance for your next set. This is because you will want to do as much as possible each time you hit the gym. Lastly, studies in 2010 and 2012 states that the exercise order should be based on your training goal, with exercises that have greater effects coming first. With that, we come to the last planning consideration, which is when to slot in your strength sessions in your run training plan. To help me get a better idea, I'll use the training program from a previous video where I covered how to train for the 2.4 km run, which is approximately 1.5 miles. For context, the 2.4 km run is part of a military test in Singapore, which also consists of maximum push-ups and sit-ups under a minute respectively. I chose this case study because if you are recovering from a specific injury or training for a Spartan race or triathlon, you also have to do exercise that might not be as relevant to your running. At the same time, if you are training for a similar distance like the 1.5 km or 3 km, this program will be useful for you too. To pick up where I left off, you can see that in this case, the training program has 12 weeks, and from start to end, we have easy runs, VO2 max intervals, and long runs each week. From week to week, there's an increase in overall training load, and every 3 weeks of training is followed by a deload week, where training load slightly decreases. If you'd like to see the thinking behind this training plan, feel free to check out the 2.4 km video, and I'll put a link somewhere on the screen. Likewise, if you'd like to find out the pacing for each of these runs, check out our previous video on 3 things every runner should know. Again, I'll attach a link on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. To add strength training into the plan, you can choose to put them either on your running day, non-running day, or both. The fundamental guideline is your strength training sessions don't affect the performance of your key workouts, which in this case are the intervals and long runs. To be specific, a 2017 study indicates that high-intensity plyometrics and resistance training may impair running economy, but that effect lasts for less than 24 hours. At the same time, another study in 2014 states that a 6-hour recovery period following resistance training may minimize attenuation in easier runs, specifically the workouts that are below anaerobic threshold. However, this might not be the case for sessions above anaerobic threshold, and that will include your sprints, strides, anaerobic capacity intervals, etc. Hence, a general guideline will be to have 24 hours between your high-intensity strength workouts and your key run sessions if possible. On top of that, you can always find ways to insert low-intensity strength training into your program. This can be something like 10 minutes of bodyweight exercises, a short Pilates session, or some drills during a warm-up. In fact, a 2020 research found that in comparison with the control warm-up protocol, a routine with plyometrics can improve your running economy during the run session. Hence, it's something you might want to consider. Finally, another way to insert low-intensity strength sessions is to do bodyweight exercises post-workout. Although this might not lead to as much strength gains as sessions with heavier loads, it will still help you increase your strength, as mentioned in the research in 2021. Putting everything together and presenting on our all-in platform, but this might look like this if you are new to strength training. As you can see, during your more intense weight training sessions, you get a mix of strength exercises, both bilateral and unilateral. You also need to do the push-up and sit-up training specific to the military test, and throughout the week, there are exercises with more reps that help you improve not so much of your strength, but your technique, coordination, and mobility. These include drills, stretching, and also foam rolling. Speaking of which, one of our next videos will be on the science of foam rolling, and so far, we realized that recent research has provided more depth and clarity on the topic. So if you are looking forward to that video as much as us, simply hit the subscribe button and you'll be all set. Coming back to the training program, once you're more familiar with strength training, the routine can include more complex exercises as well as more plyometrics. For example, I've included strides and ladder drills over here and left them out in the earlier plan. This is because there's a greater chance of injury if you're not conditioned and still need to work on your strength or coordination. On the whole, your program might look something like this. Once again, to be clear, the exercises here are just examples and I'll go through exercise selection in detail in the future. To conclude this video, I'll cover the concepts of periodization of your strength training. The interesting part is, it doesn't always have to follow the periodization of your running plan. This is because your strength training should be aligned to your overall goal, as mentioned in the first part of this video. In essence, for most cases, how much you lift in the gym does not matter as much as how much it is affecting your run. Hence, it's okay if you don't see progress in the weight room every week. In a meta-analysis published this year, researchers have also found that for trained adults, even though a linear periodization is better than no periodization, and undulating periodization is even more optimal for strength gains. I hope this drives home the point that it's okay to load the weights if you're tired, especially if by doing so, you can perform better for a key workout the next day. With that, we sum up today's video. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to like, share and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below or contact us if you like one-to-one personal training. Till next time, take care.